rebuilding. The catastrophic failure, a new start. Physically, mentally, our careers, our businesses. Step back, first step, next step. The driver in me just wants to get it done tomorrow. We'll do this, do that, let's move this, where are we at with this? You build some confidence, build some self-esteem, start to feel better about yourself. The Silverback Blueprint Podcast, a show for men over 40. We focus on getting stronger, staying motivated, building discipline, creating a community, and becoming truly happy. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 119 of the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. It's all a mental game. You know, when we talk about, getting stronger and journaling and stuff, and what we read and what we put our mind and the scripture in our head, what we're really doing, and for me, this is something that I look at from this point of view, is that all this is to become mentally stronger, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to get upset about things. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get hurt by things. That's not what it means at all. It's not like you become cold and calculating. What it is, though, is you become controlling of your emotions and calculating. So the stronger we can make our mind, the more we can control what's happening between our ears, the better the effect, the better the change effect that we're going to have, right? We can't control what happens to us. There's so many outside variables that come to us, outside influences that come at us. We have no control over that, right? And if we think we can control all that stuff, we're heading down a different path and a wrong path as well, right? The only thing we can control is ourselves and how we deal with it, how we process it, the filters we see things through. Obstacles are a part of life and shit happens. Things, people, old habits are going to get in our way all the time, right? It's constant. That's why we need to do what we can to improve our mental game. In the strength world, we talk about often is it's really our focus and our mental mindset that makes us able to handle more weight. Yes, of course, there's a physiological aspect of our muscles and our nervous system and our ligaments and our technique for sure. But why is it some people, when they get to a certain situation or a certain sport or a certain endeavor where they have to execute at a high level, can do it better than others? When if you look at the 10 people doing the same thing, they almost look identical. If you look at a powerlifting meet, that's our big influence for us in our lives. If you're looking at the 242s, 242-pound class, that's from 242 up to 274 pounds, very similar shapes, very similar sizes, very similar builds. But it's the guys, the girls that have a better mental game that will do better. And the mental game isn't just on the day of, but the mental game is in the preparation and the day in, day out, and going after it day after day and doing the things that have to get done. That, to me, I think, is the most important part of the mental game, because it's so easy to be sidetracked. Our mind game and our mindset is our key to turning these roadblocks, from becoming excuses. And that's really what happens, right? We have all these things come at us, and then the excuses start happening, right? Deflect. Why not take ownership of it? If we run into a problem, we need to know that the first thing we have to do is deal with it. There's no hiding. Now, sometimes it's something we can deal with right away. Sometimes it's something that we have to sit down and say, hey, listen, I got to come back to this. But we have to deal with it. We can't hide. Number two is we have to study it. How did this come about? This problem that we're dealing with, this conflict, this obstacle, this negative influence. We need to step back and study as to why this is happening. Because although we can't control a lot what happens around us, we can control where we spend our time physically. We can control ourselves where we spend our time mentally. Right? So we talk about your circle of influence. You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That shit's real. Now, if you sit there and the people you hang out with are not the people ideal for your situation, for what you're trying to do, then you're the one responsible for changing that, not them. So again, that's an outside influence that you cannot stop from happening, but you can control you around that situation. And the third thing we have to do is we have to learn from it. And I think that's a big breakdown for a lot of us. we keep having the same problems because we haven't learned from it. We haven't gone to a different way of dealing with it. We haven't made the changes in ourselves and our activities to deal with this, to properly deal with this, to be honest with ourselves. Right? When people use terms like this always happens. No, this doesn't always happen. You always let it happen. You always put yourself in this situation. I'm doing really good for a week or two, and then all of a sudden something happens, and then I derail. No, you're doing really well for a week or two, something happens, and you let yourself derail. That's the difference. At no point when we're dealing with these obstacles do we need to run to distractions, to booze, to food, to chocolate, to sex, to Netflix. We choose to do that because it makes us feel better immediately. And I think that's part of the natural reaction. We want to feel better. We don't want to be in a point of pain. So often we'll take the easy way out. Oh, I've had a rough day. I really deserve this bottle of wine. I've had a rough day. I really deserve this new dress. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. But if you find yourself, this is your go-to and you're going to it often, right? That's the mindset issue. That's the mind game. I'm on Facebook a lot. I'm on the social medias. I was telling Luke, I'm cornering the internet. And I think people think one way and then think a different way all at the same time. So I have conversations with people weekly about improving their health, improving their fitness, improving their strength, improving their body composition. And I get it. But these same people, often, they're posting or telling me they're having this issue, they're also posting these pictures of this food that they're eating and this new beer they're trying. But they're posting it often enough to know that this is a regular habit for them. So of course the changes aren't going to happen. In their mind, I'm doing everything right. If you were doing everything right, you'd be getting all the results you wanted. So stop that. That's a mindset issue. That's a script you've put in your head that is false. I'm the first one to admit I have trouble with food and I work on dealing with it and my mastery sometimes is great and sometimes it's not. But I don't kid myself. I never get on the scale and sit there and going, I don't understand what happened. It's fucking bullshit. I know exactly what happened and what didn't happen. So at the end of the day, it's about our mindset and what we choose to believe, what we want to believe. But we'll often perform mental gymnastics to excuse our behavior. And listen, if you're happy being overweight, if you're happy being weak, if you're happy being old and broken, if you're truly happy with that shit, then great. Stop listening to this podcast. You don't need it. You're in a great place. You're in a place we all strive to be. But listen, most of us listening to this are not happy with ourselves. So this message is for you. This whole podcast series is for you guys. It's for me to understand that there's still things to work on, still things to fix. And there's rules and laws that just, you can't talk your way out of. If you eat too much, you're going to gain fat. If you don't work out enough, you're not going to be healthy. If you don't sleep enough, you're going to have trouble performing mentally and physically. If you don't work on your mindset, you're not going to achieve the things you want to achieve. If you don't become honest with yourself, then you're not going to be happy and fulfilled. You're just not. It doesn't fucking matter what you want to believe. Those things don't change. That's why we need to really increase and improve and work on the mindset. We just did a seminar in June with Josh Bryant. Really smart strength athlete, training some of the strongest powerlifters in the world right now, strongest bodybuilders in the world. And he did a 5-6 hour seminar with us. And the very first module, mindset. Right? How to set yourself up for success. Talked about visualizing goals, setting goals, doing the mental process daily, the mental exercises required to get peak performance out of yourself. It's no joke. That shit's real. That's the only way it happens. If you have a goal that you want to achieve in the next 30 days, part of your mental process has to repeat that goal to yourself repeatedly throughout the day and visualize what it'll look like when that goal is achieved. And spend time reading and rereading that goal in your journal. Not once a day, not twice a day, but 10, 15, 20 times a day. In fact, when you're in a situation where you are stressed, you need to go to that and you need to read that. That needs to become your mantra. That's the way it works. It's the mindset, what we put in our head and what we feed in our head. We have two wolves inside of us. You've heard this before. We have fear and we have courage. And the one we feed the most is the one that ends up becoming the strongest and dominant. That's really what this is all about. No new pair of running shoes is going to do this for you. Right? No buying yourself a motorcycle is going to do this for you if you haven't made these changes on the inside. And that's what we do as consumers. That's another way we deal with things. We consume. We get the rush from buying that thing that we've always wanted. The problem is sometimes the thing we've always wanted, we've only wanted for a week. But we know it's going to make us feel better for the instant. Fuck it, I'll worry about how I pay for it later. Right? That's a real issue. A lot of people, consumer debt out there out of control because they want the now. They want the shiny object. Mindset, the mental game. Huge, guys. Our mindset is our most valuable asset, and we must protect it. We have to train it, and we have to strengthen it all the time. Those tools have to be ready. If you talk to a master carpenter or any type of master journeyman, right, the ones that do really well, they're always organized. All their tools are taken care of. So that no matter what happens, what job they get to, they can do it and they can do it efficiently. The ones that don't do well are the ones when you open up their toolbox or their van or whatever, it looks like a fucking bomb went off. There's a difference. It's part of that mindset, part of the preparation. We've talked about it before when you watch these killer, these kick-ass, action movies. There's always the scene where the hero is getting ready for battle. Putting his armor on, loading the weapons. We need to do that every day. We need to have that process happen every day mentally. We need to go through this ritual. It's a pre-flight checklist for success, for self-improvement. You know how many times an airline pilot has flown an airplane? It's ridiculous. But every time, before they start, they go through a pre-flight checklist. Every time. Because it matters. There's a lot of lives at stake. What if we treated ourselves that way? What if we treated ourselves like our life is at stake? Our success is at stake. Our happiness and fulfillment is at stake. And not only ours, but the people around us, our family and our friends. Our success and happiness is at stake. What if we treated it that way? Because you know what? It is that way. It's mindset. It's journaling. It's rituals. It's reading. It's going through the process of getting ready and putting the most important things first and foremost in your mind repeatedly throughout the day so you do not become distracted. And things that come at you that don't fit, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And you just keep moving forward. It's about the mindset. It's the mental game. Guys, that's all I have to say about that for now. Head on over to iTunes or at the bottom of this episode. Please leave us a 5-star rating, a review. Head on over to hostilegear.com. Use the code Silverback to save 20% off. I got to be honest, you put a hostile hoodie on, it affects your mindset. It's science, 11% more awesome. Guys, I'll talk to you guys later. And as always, work hard, motherfuckers.